Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ blessed. I'm your brother Captain Messiah. We want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And we're going to get straight into it. No cut, no chaser, no lollygagging. All right, today's class, the fire is required. Only the strong will overcome. Only the strong. Only the strong. All right? The first scripture that we're going to be starting from is 1 Peter 4:12. And before we do so, I just want to send a hearty shalom to each and every one of you brews out there that's keeping the commandments. Happy Sabbath to you and your loved ones. And if your Sabbath already passed or you're catching this on a different time zone, we hope you had a great Sabbath. If your Sabbath is on the way due to your time zone, we say happy Sabbath to you when it comes. All praises. So, with that, no further ado, 1 Peter 4 and verse 12.
Reading from the book of 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 12. Beloved, thinking not strange concerning the fire trial, which is to try you, although some strange thing happen unto you.
So, in this truth, you're going to realize that you're going to go through a reoccurring cycle of things happening to you. But the Most High, through his prophets, through his servants, letting you know, when you go through the trials and the tribulations of life, because it will happen, don't think it as anything strange. Don't be trying to figure out, why is this happening? Why me? Think to yourself, why not me? The fire and the trials is needed for growth. All right? Good. So read on. So don't think it's anything strange that happened to you. Read on.
Verse 14. But rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy.
Good. So when his glory is going to be revealed, you're going to be glad. So you got to go through the fire, the tribulations, in order to get to the other side where you're going to be glad. The other side when you get full redemption from Christ. Everybody gets it. Everybody understands. So the fire is not something strange. Don't think to yourself, when we first came into the truth, we were kind of, I guess, ignorant of the fact. Right? Me and my buddy. I wasn't ignorant of the fact, but he was kind of ignorant of the fact. He was like, he heard, some prophets overseas went into another country to do the work, and they got in an accident. Right? And they ended up not only getting in an accident while on the mission, they ended up in prison, in jail. Right? For bringing it out. And he was like mind blown. He was like, how in the world this could happen if you are doing a mission for God? You're doing missions for Christ. He was mind blown. He thought being in the truth makes you immune or builds a force field around you so that nothing ever happens to you. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. You're going to go through these fiery trials. But it says it's to try you. In other words, to test you. The Most High got to see what you made of. But he already knows what you're made of. You got to see what you made of. You got to prove whether or not you're cut out for this thing. And a lot of people don't realize that they're not cut out for this thing till they actually get in the thick of it. They're like, man, I ain't really cut out for this thing. This ain't really for me. But it's to try you. It's to try you. All right? Give me verse 14.
Verse 14. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye, for the Spirit of glory and of God rested upon you.
No.
And their party is...
Stop right there. It says if. It says if. It's a conditional word if. It starts out saying if. Pay attention to that. It says if. If you are reproached or you go through some trials because of Christ, it says what?
Happy are ye.
Happy are you. Watch this.
For the Spirit of glory and of God rested upon you.
Stop. So, if you don't go through fiery trials because of the sake of Christ, because you're in this truth, because you're putting in your brick, because you're bringing out the gospel, if you're not going through any fiery trials, what does it mean? Thank you. The Spirit of glory and of the Most High is not on you. In other words, the Most High not dealing with you if you're not going through trials. So you need to have fiery trials, because that's how you know God is dealing with you. There you go. So don't be thinking to yourself, "Miam, I get a judgment this morning. Miam, we're really going on by? Most High ain't dealing with me." Yes, that's how he deals with you. Don't be like, you wake up in the morning like, "Oh, wait, babes, what's going on here? What, all these things happening?" Because the Lord is dealing with you. And you're supposed to be what? Say it loud for me. Happy. So read that again from the top. It says, if you be reproached for the name of Christ. Come on.
If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye.
Happy are you.
For the Spirit of glory and of God rested upon you.
It rests upon you. The Lord is dealing with you. So be happy. I know it's tough. I know it's some things you're going to go through in this truth. It's going to be gut-wrenching. It's going to rip your heart out. But be happy, because it shows that the Lord is dealing with you. The Lord needs to rip out your heart to build you a new one. Tell yourself, if the Lord is ripping out your heart, he's doing it for a purpose, because he needs a new heart from you. The things that your old heart produced, those things cannot carry you into the new dimension of where God is carrying you. He needs and requires a new heart from you. So he got to rip out that old one. He got to rip it to smithereens. And guess what it's going to come to the form of? People coming against you and disappointing you and letting you down, and you realizing, wow, this person here, they betrayed me. They did me wrong. They did me dirty, but God had to do it. He requires a new heart for where he's taking you. Because wherever he's taking you, he's already provided for it. God does not send you anywhere. Check out the men of the Lord where he had to send them. He always provided wherever he had to send them. So tell yourself, this is God providing you the opportunity for him to root out whatever is in that old heart, so you could get it out for where he's sending you, where he's taking you, where he's building you. That old heart can't come with you. It can't come with you. He got to rip it out. But he's not going to physically leave his throne and rip it out for you. He's going to do it through people. They're going to disappoint you. They're going to let you down. They're going to stab you in the back. But it's required, because he's taking you somewhere. So don't dwell on the feelings of, boy, this thing I'm going through feels rough, you know. It feels very rough. Don't dwell on that. Look at where he's preparing you to go. So be happy. All right? It says be happy. So, what was that? That was verse 14? Yes. Okay, good. The glory of God resteth upon you if you're going through reproach in this truth for the name of Christ. All right? Give me the book of James, chapter 1. Oh, finish it up.
On their part, he is evil spoken of.
On their part, he is evil spoken of. Come on.
But on your part, he is glorified.
On your part, he is glorified, because on your part, the glory of God gets to shine through you, because now he ripped out that old heart, right, through disappointments and betrayals and whatever comes your way, people speaking evil of you. But now you endured that thing, and you came out shining on the other side. So on your part, the glory of God is being shining from you. But on their part, guess what happens? The Most High is speaking evil of in their eyes. You get the point. Good. James 1 verse 2.
Reading from the book of James, chapter 1 and verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations.
So count it all joy when you fall into diverse or different temptations. Come on.
Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience.
The trying of your faith, it works patience, because the Most High needs to put you through some things so you can develop and grow and foster your long suffering or your patience. Long suffering is the same thing as patience. Read on.
But let patience have her work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing.
So let patience have a work. It means that you got to go through it. You know, like when you catch a cold, you know, sometimes when you catch a cold, you feel like, well, you just want the cold gone, so you take a whole bunch of vitamin C and you're trying to knock out the cold. But what doctors would tell you is what? You got to ride it through. You got to ride through that thing. So you got to let patience have its perfect work. In other words, when you're going through a fiery trial, the only way to get through it is to actually go through it. You got to let patience have its perfect work inside of you. You get the point, right? So now, so that you could be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Now, in verse 3, when we read James 1 and 3, it says, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh what? Patience, right? Now, go back up to verse 2. Read that again for me, verse 2.
Reading from the book of James, chapter 1, verse 2.
Watch this.
My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptation.
Temptation. So the Greek word for temptation is there. It translates into, who could tell me? Who could tell me what that translates into? Do you know? Let's read. Give me that Greek definition for temptation. Give me the Greek definition for it.
Temptation. Being trial.
Okay. Trial.
Proving.
Proving.
The trial of man's fidelity.
Okay. The trials of a man's fidelity. Come on.
Integrity.
The trial of your integrity. Come on.
Virtue.
Virtue.
Consistency.
Constancy.
Enticement to sin.
An enticement to sin. Come on.
Adversity.
Adversity.
Affliction.
Affliction.
Trouble.
Trouble.
Sent by God and serving to test or proves one's character and faith.
To test your character or your faith. But look at this. So that word temptation in the Greek translates over into being trial. Trial. Because when you're going through a trial, you're often what? Tempted. You're tempted to act carnally. You're tempted to go back in the world. You're tempted to deal with this thing in a worldly way. You're tempted to just go back to being the same old Negro you used to be. Right? So you're tempted, yes. But in the temptation, and that word for it, trial, it shows you that in verse 2 when it says, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into different trials. So when trials come, you're supposed to be what? Happy. Why? It's a time for the Most High that he can actually now prove what type of man or woman you are. He can prove your integrity. Now integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is looking. That's integrity. Having integrity. No one has to tell you to do the right thing. You're doing the right thing. You don't have somebody beating down over your shoulder. You don't have somebody beseeching you, do the right thing, do the right thing. You're doing the right thing because you have integrity. You have spiritual integrity. Everybody gets the point. Good. Give me the book of Zechariah 13 and verse 8. The book of Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8.
Reading from the book of Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, to pass therein shall be cut off and die.
So this is the prophecy about what's going to happen when Christ returns, right? Come on.
But the third shall be left therein.
The third is going to be left therein. Come on.
And I will bring the third part through the fire.
He's going to bring the 1/3 through the what?
Through the fire.
Through the fire. So now when Christ returns, all Israelites not going to be saved. It's only 1/3 of the Israelites going to be saved. Only 1/3 is actually going to be willing to endure the trials, the fire, and come out victorious on the other side. Only the strong will overcome. This 1/3 that will overcome are those that endured the fiery trials. But again, the fiery trials are set forth before you so that you can prove to yourself whether you're going to be one of the 1/3 or not. Because it says the third part, he's going to bring them through the fire. Come on.
And will refine them as silver is refined,
Uh-huh.
and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God.
So in order to get to that point where the Most High chooses you or selects you to be one of the 1/3, you got to go through some what? Some trials. And you got to endure them. Because he says the 1/3, he's going to bring them through the fire. He's talking about refining. Fire refines. Fire burns. The burning is required. The fire is required. Why is the fire required? Because fire purifies. In order for the Most High to do anything with you, he got to burn away the old parts of you. The parts that you didn't want to let go. The parts that you wanted to hold on to. He got to burn that thing away. He got to melt that thing away. The fire got to purify. So that's what the fire comes to do. The fire comes to purify and to burn and to melt away everything that's not supposed to be there. So don't shy away from the fire. The fire is required. Everybody gets the point? Good. So understand this. Not because you're an Israelite means that you're going to get the kingdom. Being an Israelite alone, that's not requirement for the kingdom. That's just the base of it. You now have to do something. You now have to go through these, enduring these trials and these tribulations when you come in the truth. But a lot of people don't want to come into the truth because they figure it's all too much for them to go through being in captivity and still go through the trials that come with being in the truth. How is you going to reach in the 1/3 so he could bring you through the fire? He has to bring you through the fire so he could burn away and melt away all the impurities. That's what the fire is for. All right? Give me Malachi chapter 3, verse 2.
Reading from the book of Malachi, chapter 3 and verse 2. But who may bid the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap.
So a refiner. Who's a refiner? Someone that works with gold. They works with silver. They work with different metals to refine them and to make them into precious metals. Precious metals. So this refining process is a process where you have to basically ignite the metals with other materials to a certain high temperature degree in order to purify those metals to get them to be pure metals, precious metals, right? So now he's comparing the work that a refiner does to the work that he's going to do. Read it again from the top. Watch this. In the day of his coming. Watch this.
But who may abide the day of his coming?
Who will abide in the day of his coming? Who's going to be able to withstand and actually be accepted into the kingdom when he comes? Watch this.
And who shall stand when he appeareth?
Come on.
For he's like a refiner's fire.
He's like a refiner's fire. So you cannot stand before him. You cannot be accepted before him on that day of judgment if you didn't go through the fire, because you got another fire to go through. You got final judgment to face. If you couldn't make it through life's trials and tribulations and actually endure and make it out victorious, right? Fighting your flesh, coming against your old self, how are you going to stand before him? How are you going to actually now go past him into them gates? It ain't happening, because he's the ultimate fire that you now got to stand before him. And if you can't pass that fire, let's put it this way. If you can't pass the fire that you're going through now, how are you going to pass that fire? Because when he judges through Christ, do you think if you weren't able to survive and endure the trials that you're dealing with right now, you think you're going to be able to withstand the judgment, the high level of scrutiny that's coming your way when Christ actually stands before you? Now, some of you who get offended easily when you get corrected, when Christ is correcting you, you can't withstand it, because now you're going to get offended again. You're going to be like, who is you to judge me? Who is you? The Bible literally says Christ will judge. What do you mean, who is you to judge me? Our people will be like that. Oh, you don't know what I was thinking when I did that. Christ, he knows all thoughts. He knows what you were thinking. So a lot of our people go on in that day feel like they didn't deserve their judgment. But Christ, I didn't deserve that. You didn't know what I was thinking. You didn't know what I went through. He knows what you went through because God is the one who sent all those fiery trials your way so that you could overcome them. But you used excuses. You went back to being a Negro. You went back to being in the world. You went back to handling things your way. You didn't overcome anything. You just went deeper and deeper back into the world. So how are you going to now stand before him if that's how you handle the fiery trials in life? Well, in death, how are you going to stand before the final fire? Because that final fire is a scrutinous fire whereby every milli-inch of your life will be judged. Every thought. When you read the book of Ecclesiastes, it tells you every thought, whether good or bad, is going to be judged. That should make you very concerned about your thought processes and how you think about things, and really fasting to get those spirits off you so that you stop thinking a certain way. That should concern you. It says every idle word spoken, it will be accounted for. So like those of you that like to joke about certain things and make certain lewd jokes and laugh about certain things that the Most High deems as abomination, he says he's going to judge all those things. So if you can't withstand what you're going through right now, how are you going to withstand the final scrutinous fire? So read on.
Verse 3. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness.
An offering in righteousness. So the Most High don't receive unrighteous offerings. That's why he needs you to go through the fire so you can be refined. Because when that offering comes before him, he needs it to be what? Pure. A pure offering. That's why he got to burn out and weed out every sick, defiled, decrepit thing in you. Because when that offering comes before him, it has to be what? Pure. Okay? So he's going to sit as a refiner and a purifier. Because remember, we're his silver, we're his gold. But we can't be his silver and gold if we're mingled with impurities. Can a refiner that works in a goldsmith shop really make the gold and silver the right way if a bunch of impurities instill in it? No, he can't. Otherwise, when you go check for that silver, it's gonna look like what? Whoever see gold in a, now for those of you that, you know, in Guyana and in Suriname, y'all familiar with this. Gold don't look like gold before you see it in the store, you know. If you was to see gold in the mines, how you think it would look? Just go on YouTube and check out how gold looks. It looks like some dirt, rock, stone type of. You're wondering how we go from this to being where you see people wear on their hands and on their neck. It looks like a totally different product, but it has to go through what? They have to heat that thing up to something like past 1,000 degrees Celsius, hot, like molten, right? Molten. So some molten things got to come your way before you're going to stand before the Most High God and be a pure offering before him. He requires a pure offering. So please, when these fiery trials come, you're supposed to only ask one question. What's the one question you're supposed, when you're going through them trials? Is that all? Send on more. Send on more. That's what you need. Father, I need it hotter. You said that's supposed to be like gold and silver. You need all the impurities out of me. Well, turn up the heat. Turn it up. I know some of y'all ain't going to want to say that, right? Some of y'all ain't going to want to be like, nah, I just cool with whatever he sends me. I am okay with that. I don't need no more heat because thing is tough. I don't need that. Tell him to turn up the heat because you want to be the shiniest, most purified, most pure offering before him, and that can only come through the heat. The fire is required. All right? What verse was that? 3. Read on. Jump down to verse 5.
Reading from the book of Malachi, chapter 3 and verse 5.
Come on.
And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against the false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turned aside the stranger for his right, and fear not me, said the Lord of hosts.
Do you realize everything that was just listed out is you being a Negro in the world? He has to burn out, the fire has to burn out all of those things. Essentially, the fire got to burn out you being the old Negro that you used to be. It says, adulterers, false swearers, in other words, liars, against those that oppress the hireling for his wages. You know, they got some people who don't like to pay people when they do a job, right? Right. It's called worthless people. You got the money, but you don't want to pay the worker. You have it, you know. I can understand if you didn't have it and you work out something with it, but you have it and you don't want to pay the worker. That's called what? Worthless. Right? So now, the widow, the fatherless, right? And them that turn the stranger from his right and fear not me, said the Lord of hosts. Verse 6.
Verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
Now understand what was happening here. Right? The other tribes were not kicking up the 10th to the tribe of Levi. You understand that? So, really and truly, that's a very wicked thing that they were doing. Right? And the only how the Most High could really correct that situation is through what? Watch this. Read on. Verse 7.
Verse 7. Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinances.
Our people have sinned, broke his laws.
And have not kept them.
Because it's absolutely an unlawful thing to not give the Levites what's due unto them. They didn't have no lands and no fields and no crops and no. Our job was to give the Levites a tenth of what we have. Read on.
And return unto me, and I will return unto you, said the Lord of hosts.
Go ahead.
But you said, wherein shall we return?
So the only way you could really resolve that thing is to return unto the Lord. But when you return unto the Lord, it's going to come with what? Fiery trials. He has to do it so he could burn out and weed out all the things that he just said you're not supposed to be doing, that we were doing. We were literally not. Imagine this, the Levites in the temple working day in, day out, night in, night out on shift system. They didn't have no lands. Their job was to live in the suburbs around the temples. We get wicked as hell and we decide, well, we're not kicking up a tenth to the Levites no more. Well, how are they going to eat? Every year they're offering up what for us? Sacrifices. They're conducting all of the ordinances and the services of the Lord on our behalf. They're going to the Lord, interceding on our behalf. And we decide we ain't feeding them no more. That's a very wicked thing. But the only resolve to that is what? For wickedness is to return. In other words, repent. Return, repent. Re means to go back. Rewind, right? Revert, repent, to go back. So you're going back to the Lord. But when you go back to the Lord, what's going to come with? It's going to come with fiery trials. Because when you go back, does he want you the same? No. When you go back, does he want you to be consistently how you used to be? No. So when you go back and you return, he has to weed out and burn out all of those impurities. So us in our state right now, we broke the covenant. The Lord told us what would happen to us. We would go into captivity. We came on ships. We got scattered in the four corners of the earth. He said there will be a remnant that returns. We're in that stage right now. We are returning. Our people are waking up. We're realizing we are the Israelites, that we got to come back to the covenant. Now we're coming back to the covenant, but here's the only issue, or I should say one of the issues with that. We're coming back, and we're realizing coming back isn't as smooth as I thought it would be. How many of you, by show of hands in here, when you first started learning about the truth, started getting serious about the truth, you realize the Most High started turning up the fire in your life? You're just wondering for yourself, like, what's going? It's coming to family, to friends, to just like different situations in your life. You're wondering what's going on. It's because you returned. You returned. So returning is good, yes. Repenting is good, yes, but it comes with fire. Because he doesn't want you going back to what? So the fire is there so that you don't go back. It's to refine and burn out all and weed out all the impure things about you so that you never go back. Y'all get the point? So be thankful for the fire. Good. Give me the book of Isaiah, chapter 43 and verse, let's start at verse 1. Isaiah, chapter 43 and verse 1.
Reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 43 and verse 1. But now, thus says the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, he that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine.
So we belong to the Lord as a nation. He created 18 nations. Out of the 18, he chose one. We are that chosen nation. He called us by name. He named us. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. We are his. Read on.
Verse 2. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindled upon thee.
So you got to understand this. Yes, returning and repenting and coming back to the Lord comes with fiery trials. Fire is there to burn out the impurities. But he says, do not fear. Because watch this. It's not that you will not go through the fire. You will go through the fire, but in the midst of the fire, he is there. He's right there with you to ensure that the fire doesn't what? Consume you. So he controls the gauge and the temperature of how hot the fire gets. He controls the intensity of the fire. He controls the level of the fire. He controls the amount of the fire because he's right there in the fire with you. Y'all get the point? He said, right there in the midst of the fire, I am there with you. He said, when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. You will not be burned. So he's the one that's controlling the gauge on the fire. But he knows just the right amount of fire that's going to get you to get the impurities out of you so that you never go back to being who you used to be. So that that fire does one little twitch of the fire more, it could burn and consume you. It has to be a right, consistent, steady amount of fire. And he knows how much fire. That's why he says he's going to be right there with you in the fire. How comforting is that? So understand this. Yes, you will go through fire. But understand, he will be right there in the midst of the fire. So should you ever be concerned or afraid when you go through? No, that's where your faith steps in. But a lot of our faith goes out the window when the fiery trials start to, you look, boy, these flames look high, boy. What? House on fire, boy? This thing look like the house is going to burn down. He said the house is not going to burn down. That's just your human thoughts doing what? Trying to consume you. That's human thoughts. If you're in the spirit, you will not let human thoughts consume you. So you got to silence the noise. And some of you have to fast from certain things so that you can hear more accurately and clearer from the Spirit of the Lord. You got to fast from certain things you might be watching, certain things you might be doing. Fast from social media. I've mentioned this before on several occasions to different persons. You may need to fast from social media. Social media is something that it deteriorates the brain. You get into one of those dead scrolls, trust me, every talking point on every podcast you don't need to hear. Because a lot of them not coming out the scriptures. Right? And a lot of them are anti the scriptures. But you stay there and consume all of this stuff. So when you do go through the trial, you're not equipped to have the right mentality while you're going through the... Some people go through the fire and they get bugged out. They bugged out, now they leave the truth. But God said he's going to be with you in the midst of the fire, and you would know this if you were in the right spirit. So some of you got to fast from certain things so that mentally you can be where you need to be, and spiritually you can be where you need to be when you're going through these trials. So when you walk through the fire, you're not going to be burned. Neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. Watch this. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 16. Daniel, chapter 3, verse 16. Now, for those of you that you might be aware or you're not aware, when it comes to Daniel, right? You know, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were named in that Hebrew name. Now, If you are familiar with Nebuchadnezzar during the Babylonian Empire, I'll give you the backstory. Of course, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were asked to bow down at the sound of the trump, right? They said, we cannot do such thing. They were being faced with a trial that was coming their way, whereby the king Nebuchadnezzar said, if you're not going to bow down, you will absolutely be put to death. We're going to throw you in a fiery pit. Now, this fiery pit, and I love how the Most High put the spirit on Nebuchadnezzar to do this to these men, because we can read about this hundreds of years later and make the parallel between the physical fire and the spiritual fire that's need to purify. Watch this. Daniel 3 and verse 16.
Reading from the book of Daniel, chapter 3 and verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter.
He says, we're not careful to answer you in this matter of you asking us to bow down. We don't bow down to nobody but the Most High Yahweh. Watch this.
Verse 17. If it be so,
if you're going to put us to death,
our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace.
So if it's going to be so and you're going to give us that judgment and you're going to throw us into a fiery furnace, don't worry. Our Lord, the Most High Yahweh, He will deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. Read on.
And He will deliver us out of thine hand.
He will absolutely deliver us out of your hand. Watch this. Mind you, how you going to be disrespectful and be respectful at the same time? He said, listen, our God Yahweh, He's going to deliver us, O King. Right? Watch this. Read on.
Verse 18. But if not, be it known unto thee, O King, that we will not serve thy gods now.
Even if the Most High Yahweh does not deliver us out of this pit, understand this. Let it be known, we still ain't serving your God. That's what you call, the cream of the crop type of men. That no matter what, they still ain't going to bow down. Read on.
That we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
Come on.
Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury.
Full of?
Full of fury.
Full of fury. Watch this.
And the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Stop right there. Who put the spirit on Nebuchadnezzar to get full of fury and get wild and say, listen, we got to turn it up on them even more? Whose spirit went on Nebuchadnezzar? The Lord. Now, if you realize, in verse 18, he said, even if the Most High don't save us out of this thing, we still ain't bowing down to your God. In other words, they doubled down on what? Keeping God's commandment. Because idolatry is something that the Most High absolutely abhors, meaning He hates. And they're aware of that. They're not going to bow down to any other God other than Yahweh. But here's the thing. When you start to double down in this truth, when you really start to get serious and know, you're rocking your fringes every single day, and now you double down on being integrous and do the right thing, and, someone who you used to be really good with, they call you, hey, you could go and either do this for me on the Sabbath day or, now you're doubling down on keeping the commandments. That gets them what? Full of what? Anger, fury. Now you start to see who your true friends are. Now you start to see like who's really in your corner, because now you're doubling down on keeping the commandments. But doubling down on the commandments puts a spirit on the other person to know what? Be opposed to you, to be angry with you, to be full of fury with you. Right? Now the Lord is doing that to see if you're going to remain integrous in that moment. The Lord is putting that spirit on them to see if you're going to give in with what they want to do and trim your ways to seek love, or if you're going to double down even more. Y'all get the point? So the Lord has to do it. He's putting the spirit on the people who are opposed to you. Read on.
Therefore, Therefore he spake, and commanded that they should heat the furnace one 7 times more than it want to be heated.
7 times more. King Nebuchadnezzar said, I want that thing turned up even more. Turn up the heat more than it usually is. 7 times more. So what happens when you double down in the truth? How much more? 7 times more, right? But why does the fire need to be that hot though? Who could tell me? Why 7 times more? Why does the fire need to increase when you start to double down in this truth? Say that again? Okay, you said test your faith. Okay, yes. To see how solid. Okay. But when gold is being refined, so when you start to double down in the truth, the Lord will absolutely turn up the fire 7 times more because he has to now remove impurities from you. Y'all get the point? So when you said to like Captain, boy, Cap, I want to double down in this truth here. Guess what you're actually saying? I want problems always. That's what you're saying. But it's good because you're giving yourself the opportunity for the impurities to be removed from your life. And it can only come through the fire being turned up 7 times more, 7 times hotter. So for those of you at home that's watching right now that say you want to be closer to God, you want to be doing more for God, you want to be doubling down in this truth even more, guess what you're telling Yahweh? You're saying, Yahweh, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Because the more you double down in the truth, the hotter the fire gets. But the fire is required. What verse you at? And don't shy away from the fire neither. Please don't. Don't be like, oh, well, Father, I take it back. I actually don't want that fire. Because if you don't want the fire, it means what? What we learned earlier in the class. If you're not getting fire, the Lord is not what? He's not dealing with you. And I don't know about y'all. I want the Lord to be dealing with me. I'd rather the Lord deal with me than to not. Because if the Lord not dealing with you, you're headed for the lake. Now you're going to a fire that you ain't going to ever be able to now get out of. Now you're headed to that lake. Now you could just go to the little piece of fire while you were here, get through it, come out on the other side shining. But now you headed to a fire where you ain't ever coming out of that thing. You're getting fully destroyed in that thing. I prefer the first fire. Can I get 2 of those, please, Lord? Let me get the first fire. I don't want the last fire. Let me get the first one. I'll deal with that. Come out on the other side shining, purified, pure as gold. Let me deal with that. All right? What verse you at? 20? Come on.
And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace.
Come on.
Verse 21. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
They were cast into the midst of the fiery furnace. So they got thrown into that fire. Verse 22.
Verse 22. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the fire exceeding hot, the flames of the fire slew those men that took Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yo, that fire was so hot, it threw back the men. The men were like, let's throw them in there. And as they throw them in, she just backed them back, throw them back. That's how hot that thing was, right? So it shows you the Most High had that thing extra hot. Read on.
Verse 23. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
Verse 24.
Verse 24. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king.
It's like, wait. Didn't we just throw 3 men down there? Oh, what's going on down there? Or Dougie said, what's going on over there? He's trying to figure out what's up. Verse 25.
Verse 25. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose.
So how we throw 3 men in there, now we see 4? How? Tell me. Read on.
Walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt.
So wait. That fire turned up 7 times more, and these guys, they're just walking around like they're swimming in SeaWorld? Read on.
And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
So whoa, that 4th guy that we see now ain't look like the rest of them. He looking like the Son. He looking like, I don't know who the Son is, but that looking like him. If ever there was a Son, he looking like him. Read on.
The Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire.
Come on.
Verse 27. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose body the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed, neither was their coat changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them.
So not even the smell of fire was on them. It's like there wasn't even in the fire to begin with. It's like you're trying to figure out a way. We just turn up the fire 7 times more, throw them in there. Not only we throw them in there, but we see a 4th man walking around in there with them, right? And they ain't even got the smell of fire on them. Well, what's going on, right? Verse 28.
Verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had sent his angels and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God.
So because they didn't give themselves into idolatry, right? And they literally did not yield their bodies to bow down to anybody else other than Yahweh, the Most High sent his angel to deliver his servants. So the takeaway from this is what? The Most High will be with you in the midst of the fire. You understand that? And you will be blessed because of it. Because it says, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had sent his angel and delivered his servants. So in order to get that deliverance out of the fiery trial, you got to go through it. But you got to have faith when you're going through it. And the fire is required. Right? So now, number 1, the fire is not going to kill you. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to harm you. Stop feeling like you don't want to go through the fire. Stop feeling like you wish this could just pass over you. You got to go through it. Y'all get the point? So you're going to go through some rough stuff in this truth. All right? Everything from family issues to personal issues to people who you thought were your friend. And I always tell you this. If your partner or your party or your brethren or your good, who you was tight with, he decide he not in this truth no more, or he gone to a different organization or whatever, don't let that dictate your loyalty. Do not let that dictate your commitment. Do not let that dictate what you're doing for the Lord, your brick that you're putting in. If anything, you should double down on your commitment to the Lord. If anything, that should make you stronger. Right? So even if you see the captain decide he gonna get bugged out and go back into the world, don't you dare leave this truth. Don't you stop. Don't you come out the truth and be like, well, my captain, he eating out the garbage pan right now, so I gone back into the world. Don't ever do that. You yourself double down in the truth even more. All right? All praises. So now, give me the book of Romans chapter 5 and verse 3. So notice how the fire did not consume them. The fire did not kill them. But the Most High was right there with them in the form of his angel, right? The Yahushai with them. All right? Romans 5 and verse 3.
Reading from the book of Romans chapter 5 and verse 3. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also.
We glory in tribulations also.
Knowing that tribulations worketh patience.
You see that? Tribulations worketh what?
Patience.
Patience. So a lot of y'all, when you're going through tough times, rough times, fiery trials, you just want it to be over. And it's never that simple. You will continue going through fiery trials until the Most High has refined you. You get the point? So if you find yourself still going through fiery trials, it means that you have more refining to do. There's more refining that needs to take place. But we just, like that song said, can we skip to the good part? A lot of people just want to skip to the good part. They don't want to go through that fiery trial. You have to go through it. But it works patience in you. Read on.
Verse 4. And patience experience, and experience hope.
So patience brings about experience, and experience brings about hope, the same hope that you're going to have to pass on to someone else when you go through your trials, when you go through your tribulations. You're going to be able to impart to somebody else the experience of how they can overcome it as well. Read on. Oh, sorry. Let's drop that. Let's drop that and get 2 Corinthians. Let's get 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 17.
Reading from the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal rate of glory.
Stop right there. It says our light affliction. These afflictions that you're going through right now that you think is so hot and so fiery, they're just light afflictions. Now, I didn't say it. The Lord says it. Now, usually when brothers come into the truth, right, so and you see them faltering, stumbling, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or even let's say they're in the truth for a while, but they're faltering and they're stumbling. Let's use that. The brothers who in the truth a while. And they're faltering and they're stumbling. What's the number one thing that always comes out of their mouth? Or even for some of the sisters. What's the number one thing? Like, a brother is in the truth, let's say 2 years, but he's faltering and stumbling, not doing what he got to get tech talking to all the time. He got to get correction all the time. What's the number one excuse that's coming out of his mouth? You don't know what I'm going through. He thinks he's going through the world being on his shoulders. But the Lord calls that thing a what? A light what? It's a light affliction. You ain't start, listen. You want to know what heavy affliction is? If you went through some of the things that the prophets went through, some of y'all wouldn't be able to survive. Men like Paul, they suffered shipwreck, going in jail. Watch it. Paul went in jail for how many years before he got a trial? Before he got a trial so they could hear his case out. How many years he was in jail for? 2 years. Could some of you sit in a prison cell for 2 years still having faith and holding on to the Most High God that he will offer you a just trial so that he can hear the case before this man so he could let you go and you could go continue your mission? 2 years you're sitting down in a jail cell for. Paul never lose faith. Some of y'all, if y'all going to jail cell for a weekend, y'all give up on God. Y'all like, wow, God, this is what you really got me to be? Okay, cool. I guess I can just leave the truth now. 2 years he was in the jail for. He suffered shipwreck, all of these things. Paul got stoned, beaten. Let me tell you, it was so bad one time, right? Him and Barnabas went into a town. These guys was like, what false doctrine you bringing in here? Hey, let we give here a sheet of licks. Let we beat this guy down, two of them. They got such a beating. Guess what they did? They went back out again the next week. Back to the same place where they just got they just got beat down from. Right? But here's the thing. They thought Paul was dead. They say he got beaten half to death. Where they thought, when they saw him on the ground, they thought he was dead. And you think what you're going through right now is anything? You think what you're dealing with right now is a very light affliction. Very light. So tell yourself, whatever you're going through, the men and women that came before you, they went through more. They went through more. What you're going through is nothing compared to them. So I ain't want to hear no, you Cap, you ain't know what I dealing with. Cap, you ain't know. You know what I going through? Guess what? Yeah, everybody different. You know. They hit you with that, right? Everybody different, man. I can't deal with them kind of things. Your forefathers dealt with those kind of things and more and more and more. You understand that? So good. So, what verse was that? That was verse 4? 17, sorry. Give me verse 18.
Verse 18. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal.
So the things that are not seen are eternal. So what you're working towards is eternal perfection. That's what you're working towards. Y'all get the point? But the things that you're going through right now, the temporal. It's just temporary. Right? Stop murmuring, stop arguing, stop saying nobody knows the troubles that I'm dealing with. Stop thinking that you're the only one. The scriptures say, listen, there's nothing that is common to man, right? There's nothing. Everyone goes through the same things, right? So why you think you're so special? Why you think your afflictions is so different to everyone else's? Because nobody know what I dealing with. Nobody has to know, but everybody dealing with stuff. So suck it up, go through the fiery trial, deal with it, come out on the other side, shining, purified as gold. All right? Give me 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 3.
Reading from the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 4.
Sorry, 3. Start from verse 3.
Verse 3. For ye are yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal and walk as men? So when you in the truth, understand this. A large part of you going to still be carnal, right? There's going to be envyings among you in the congregation, strife, divisions, right? Paul letting you know that's carnality, right? And walking as carnal men. Verse 4. Verse 4. For while one saith, I am of Paul, and another, I am of Apollos, are ye not carnal? No, that type of division. Oh, I'm of Paul. I with Paul. I'm with Apollos. I'm under Apollos, right? Paul can't come tell me nothing. That's carnal. Right? Watch this, verse 5. Verse 5. Who then is Paul? Who then is Paul? And who is Apollos? Who is Apollos? But ministers by whom you believe. All they are ministers of the gospel, by people which you believe. Even as the Lord give to every man. That type of division that you're trying to bring into the truth is carnal. You understand that? Read that last part again. Even as the Lord gave to every man. So the Lord has given ministers to every man. So understand this. Because the different types of men, you're going to have different types of ministers that cater to different men. It's really that simple. When I first came into the truth, I literally thought, why we can't all just be together as one? Why they got different camps? Why they got different organizations? I was just young in the truth, not really understanding and not knowing that you're going to have different organizations. Different ministers for different men. It's literally that. And then when we get in the wilderness and we can all come under Christ, then we're going to be as one. But for now, there's going to be different factions, different organizations, right? You just get in where you fit in. It's literally that simple.
But the divisions that you try to cause while, oh, our camp is the best, biggest, like, that's carnal. That's carnal. And if anybody like coming to you trying to like snake you like that, yo, come over to this camp because we got more people, more members, more sisters. We're doing more this, we're doing more that. That's carnality. It's carnal. And for me, I don't tell nobody where they should go or where this. Your spirit going to lead you. The Spirit of the Lord going to tell you where you need to be. I'm just a minister of the truth. That's it. Whatever your spirit resonates with, that's where you're going to be. Because my elders always taught me the truth is a revolving door. You don't have no monopoly on no person, no body. You can't stop somebody from being where they want to be, right? They're going to be where they want to be. Absolutely. All right? But don't be carnal with it. Don't be carnal and go into that carnality. All right? We all here to learn the truth, being the truth. All right? What verse was that?
6. Sorry.
That was 5. Give me 6. Give me verse 6.
Verse 6. I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase.
Who gives the increase?
God gave the increase.
The Most High gives the increase. You understand that? So once you're doing the work, the Lord will bring the increase. Once you're doing the work with sincerity, you're be having integrity while you're doing so, the Lord will bring the increase. All right? Verse 7.
Verse 7. So then neither is he that planted anything, neither he that watered it, but God that gave it the increase.
So we're nothing. We who do the work, we're nothing. God is the one who gives the increase. We're just ministers of what he told us to do. We're nothing. So those of you that like to idolize man and be starstruck over man, and we are nothing. And if your leaders, anybody that you follow and admire, now you can definitely give honor to men, as the Bible says, but there's a threshold, there's a thin line. When you're going to idolize men or you're going to honor men. Never idolize men because they're just men. Like you, they have shortcomings. And guess what? Most people, they get their balloon popped when they realize this person who they were idolizing fell into some sin, right? If the men of old in the Bible, they fell into sin, well, who are we? Who are we? You got some of the most prominent men in this book. They went off. So who are we? We're nobody. We're nothing. It says the only one that matters is God who gives the increase. Right? Give me verse 8.
Verse 8. Now he that planted and he that watered are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor.
So every man is going to receive his reward according to his labor, according to the bricks that you put in. That's the reward you're going to get. And don't be upset if you're only putting in little bricks and you only get a little reward. It's all about the bricks that you put in. Read on.
Verse 9. For we are laborers together with God. Ye are God's husbandry, ye are God builders.
You are God's building. So we're building something. We're building something that has think of a building. A building has a foundation. A building has the bricks, the blocks, the cement, the roof, the windows, right? So we're building a building, right? And in building a building, you encounter what? What do you encounter along the way? Yes, you get laborers, but does a building just always go smoothly as the way it's projected? What will you encounter? Challenges, problems while you're building. Sometimes you may underestimate the material or overestimate the budget. Sometimes you run into little snags, you run into electrical issues, plumbing issues, tiling issues, roofing issues, different issues. But the house has to get finished, right? So no matter what happens during the process in the building of the building, You will go through some trials while you're going through building the building. But it's for you to, in that moment, see how we can mitigate and navigate around these problems so that the building can still come out functional, working, all right, and a prosperous building. Give me verse 10.
Verse 10. According to the grace of God which is given unto me as a wise master builder.
So Paul counted himself as a wise master builder because of the grace that the Most High God given him through Christ. Read on.
I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon.
Come on.
But let every man take heed how he buildeth upon thereon.
Good. So let every man take heed or pay attention to how you're building on that foundation. Now, some people come into the truth for the wrong reasons, and some people come into the truth for the right reasons. Some people come into the truth because of what they could get out of the truth. Right? So let every man take heed how he's building, because you might look at someone, he's on the front line with you, and he look like he's doing the work with you, but what you're not considering is how he's building, or he's not considering. Read the last part again for me. It says, let every man. But let every man. Verse 10. Yes.
But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereon.
Let every man take heed or pay attention or take careful consideration how he's building. So you got to check yourself in this truth. You got to see if your intentions are pure. A lot of people, and I've seen sisters even, they come into the truth only for because a man. And then when the man either does something unscrupulous or leave the truth, they're gone too. They out the truth. I've seen some men come into the truth just for a woman. And then now when the woman does something unscrupulous, right? Or she not in the truth anymore, he leave out the truth too, because you weren't there to serve the Lord. You were there for your own interests. You were there for your own, your own gain. So you got to take careful heed about how you're building. Because you might be building, yes, but you're not building with the correct intentions. So just a little advice to all those who might be young in the truth is not everyone who you see doing the work has the same pure intentions of why they're doing the work. Every man have their own reason, whether it's pure or whether it's carnal. Some people actually do the work for carnal reasons because of what they could get out of the truth. Some people come around the congregation because there's a sister in there that they like to see. Some women come around the congregation because, they might be looking help from other sisters or help from. So everyone have their own reason why. There's some people who's genuinely in the truth because they want to serve the Lord. But you yourself, it's not for you to look and see what other people are in the truth for. Let everyone look to see how they're building for themselves, how they're putting in their. You got to examine yourself. You got to introspect yourself. You got to look within yourself and ask yourself this question every single day while you're in the truth. Am I in the truth for the right reasons? Because the fiery trials that will come will prove whether or not you were in it for the right reasons or not. Because when the trial comes, if you're not in it for the right reasons, what are you going to do? You're going to bail. You're going to bail. You're going to bail. You're going to leave. You're going to go. Because you were not in it for genuine reasons. Y'all get the point? So you will absolutely become a betrayer, a backstabber, someone who's very unscrupulous, who only cares about themselves. If you're not checking yourself constantly to see, this house that I'm building, am I building it with the right intentions? Or am I just doing so for show? For the fame? Because, I didn't even mention, some people come into this truth because maybe they weren't really nobody in high school. In high school they used to get kind of clowned, they didn't really have no status, but now in this truth they realize they have an opportunity where they could lord themselves over people, where they could now be a big shot. So it's like they take that opportunity for the wrong reason. So mind you, they learn the precepts, they know the precepts inside and out, but now they're able to use that ability to now lord themselves over people, lord themselves over others, use it to manipulate people, manipulate others. So for those young ones who in the truth, don't just always look and see, well, he's wearing fringes, he's out on a Saturday, he knows the precepts, he knows the scriptures. That doesn't always equate to their doing it for the right reasons. You're going to learn that as you grow in this truth. But it's not for you to, go around to everyone and ask them, hey, what's the reason why you're in the truth? It says, let every man do it for themselves, to look within themselves and to take heed how they're building thereupon. Verse 11.
Verse 11. For other foundation can no man lay than this that is laid,
Good.
which
So
is Jesus Christ.
There's no other foundation. In other words, there's no other sincere reason to be in this truth other than what? Christ. Other than what? Christ. If you're doing or being in this truth, putting in your brick for any other reasons other than Christ, then you are off. Read that again for me.
For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Christ.
There is no other foundation that is actually sincere, true, tried and tested, other than if you're doing this truth or being in this thing of ours called the truth, putting in your brick. If you're not doing it for Christ, you're off. If you're doing it for any other reason, you're off. If you're doing it for what you could get, you're off. If you're in it for a man or a woman, you're off. If you have ulterior motives, you're off. If you're doing it for Christ, you're spot on. You are spot on. Good. Give me verse 12.
Verse 12. Now, if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stone, wood, hay, stubble.
Go ahead, read on.
13. Every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is.
So understand this, on judgment, you might be thinking that right now you're in this truth and you have ulterior motives as to why you're in the truth. But on the day of judgment, the reasoning behind why you were in this truth will be revealed. Understand, it's going to be tried by fire. And every man's work shall be made manifest. Right? Because the day is going to declare. Which day? That day of judgment. Which day? That day you're going to be facing the Most High through Christ. That day where everyone's work is going to be revealed to see if it was the foundation was actually Christ, or if they had their own ulterior motives. It's going to be revealed by fire. Because the fire, remember, the fire is there to test, to prove, to purify. And if your works don't withstand the purification process, what's going to happen is the fire is going to reveal what sort of work it is, or what sort of work it was. And some of y'all are going to be like, no, Christ, that's not the reason why I was in the truth. And he's going to absolutely tell you, off with your head. So you realize that some of us, if we don't examine ourselves to see why we're in this truth, you would find yourself on the opposite end of Christ's judgment, even though you were wearing fringes, even though you came to the Sabbath, even though you were keeping the feast days, even though you were doing all those things. But the reason why you were in the truth was for some other ulterior motive other than Christ. It will be revealed on that day. Which day? Judgment day. What sort of work it was. Whether it was genuine or whether it had ulterior motives. That should scare you. That should scare some of you. To make sure you check yourself every day. Look yourself in the mirror and say, self, why are you in this truth? Is it any other reason than Christ? Am I here for a man or a woman? Or am I, just what I could get? What the truth could do for me in terms of physically, tangibly, things I could touch, feel, smell, tangible things. Are you here for that? Because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, listen, even if Yahweh don't save us out the fire, we still ain't bowing down. They were in the truth for real. Some of y'all, if y'all don't get the blessings that what the Most High promised y'all, y'all will leave out the truth in a heartbeat. As soon as your heartbeat, boop, boop, you out. Jump out. That mean you ain't in it for real. That mean when the fiery trials come, you gone. You ain't in it for real. I mean the moment somebody backstab you, betray you, you out the truth. You gone. Because you ain't in it for real. The moment you don't get your way in this truth and you get corrected, right? You gone. If correction make you go, you ain't in it for real. You're not in the truth for real. Let me just say that. What verse was that? Okay, give me verse 14.
Verse 14. If any man work abide when which he had built thereupon, he shall receive a reward.
So if your work remains, meaning that it was proven that you were in this truth for the real reason, which is Christ, you shall receive a reward. Read on.
Verse 15. If any man work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire.
So it would be better that you get found out that you're insincere now, so that you could be saved in the end, rather than you continue being insincere and that you go to the lake in the end. Y'all get the point. So if you get pulled up on the fact that you're not sincere now, take the correction, change your motives, change the reason why you're in the truth to a sincere reason. Do it for Christ, because you don't want to go through this truth faking it till you make it, and then when you get to the end of your journey, you realize Christ revealed to you you were not in it for the right reasons. Now you're on the way to the lake to get destroyed. You understand that? That's it on that? Okay, good. Give me the book of Job 20 and verse 10. Job chapter 20 and verse 10.
Reading from the book of Job chapter 20 and verse 10. But he knoweth the way that I take. When he had tried me, I shall come forth as gold.
I shall come forth as gold. Come on.
Verse 11. My foot held his steps. His ways have I kept, and not declined.
And not declined. I didn't decline to do his ways. I didn't decline in being integrous to keep the commandments. Understand that part. It says his ways I have kept. So, but the thing is, he says, being tried, he's going to come forth as gold. So when you go through these trials, it's to refine you so you come out on the other side as gold. But when you're going through your trials, what should you be doubling down on? What should you double down on? Read verse 11 again for me. What should you double down on when you're going through your trials?
Verse 11. My foot had held his steps. His way have I kept.
His what?
His way have I kept.
So when you're going through your fiery trial to come out as gold on the other side, what should you double down on when you're going through that trial? His what? His ways. What are his ways? His commandments. Double down on the commandments when you're going through your trial. Read on.
And not declined.
Verse 12.
Verse 12. Neither have I gone back from the commandments of his lips.
I didn't go back. I didn't slide back. I didn't backslide. I didn't go back into the world. I didn't go back to being an old Negro. I didn't go back to being my old self. All right, we're reading from Job 23, verse 12. All right, so read that again. Neither have I
gone back from the commandments of his lips. I have esteemed the word of his mouth more than my necessary food.
So the food that you eat on a regular basis is not more important than the food that you will receive from the word of the Most High God. This is food for your soul. This is food for your spirit. You need that even more when you're going through your fiery trial. When you're going through your fiery trial, a lot of people don't want to hear the word. I've literally heard this from people. They're going through the fiery trial. They're going through counseling, right? They're like, Cap, with all due respect, I don't want to hear no scriptures right now. You know why? Because when you're going through your fiery trial, you don't think the scriptures have the solution to what you need to come out as gold. But it does. Because when you're going through your fiery trial, it says, don't let your foot slip. In terms of, it says, my foot has held his steps. Don't let your foot slip from the commandments. His ways have I kept. Don't let his ways slip from you. Don't let the commandments slip and figure, well, I can just pick it back up again when things get better. A lot of people do this. They say, when things get better, I can start the commandments again. Huh? That then never comes. How many brothers that you know you saw pass over that had that same excuse? When I get over what I'm going through, I'll start back the commandments again. Where they are today? You don't even know where they are. And if you see them today, you reckon they look like somebody in the world. They look like somebody in the world. Because they thought going through their fiery trial, what they need to do is get over the trial first, then start keeping the commandments. No, that's the worst thing you could do. Double down on the commandments even more while you're going through the trial. All right? Good. So he says, make it more necessary than food. Every day you wake up, what's the first thing on your mind? Breakfast. Well, what going to eat for breakfast, boy? What for lunch today, boy? You ain't thinking, wait, I'm in this situation. How am I going to keep the commandments more, boy? How am I going to double down in these scriptures more, boy? I'm going to keep his ways even more. You ain't thinking that. Because literally I've heard people say, Cap, I ain't want hear no scriptures right now. Why do you think people get like that? Because you're not getting instant gratification. You don't think that the scriptures is going to instantly make the situation better. But guess what? Refining of the fire builds what? We said it earlier. Patience. The problem is a lot of people are not patient to go through the fire. They don't realize that the Lord sent the fire to refine them, right? So if you keep going through trials, it means that you're still a Negro in the world. It's very simple. You should ask the Lord, well, Lord, I keep going through this trial. He can ask you, son, why are you still a Negro in the world? It's literally that simple. Son, why are you still a Negro in the world? But Father, why I keep going through that? Son, why are you still a Negro in the world? It's very that simple. Really that simple. Give me the book of Hebrews 12 and 11. Hebrews 12 and 11.
Reading from the book of Hebrews, chapter 12 and verse 11. Now no chastising for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous.
So chastising or going through like some harsh lashes and judgment from the Most High God, it's very grievous. Yes, we understand it. No one likes to go through it. Read on.
Nevertheless, afterward is yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby.
So judgment and then learning from your judgment and then applying what you're supposed to apply, it brings forth righteousness. All right? It brings forth righteousness. So when you go through judgment, what should you say to the Lord? Say it loud. Okay, so if tomorrow you end up break your foot and you don't know why, what's the two things you should do? Thank him, number one. And what's the second thing? Father, reveal to me what was the reason why you sent this particular correction so that I could learn from it so that I never go back to it. So we all go through different judgments. All of us. Some go through it on a higher level than some, right? As you go through the truth even more, your judgments will get a little more thicker because now more is required of you, more is expected of you, right? It's like if your son is 15 years old and he does something that he learned since he was 3 years old, you're not going to give him the same little, stop. You ain't going to give him that at 15. He knows better at 15, right? The things that we learned at 3, our dad would body slam us at 15 for because we know better. So your judgment gets more. When we was 3, you get a little, Pops never used to deal with us. He'd be like, send the mother. Send your mother. He'd be like, V, go deal with him. And mommy would just come, what you did? And she would kind of like, kind of hit me soft and be like, don't do it. And I still gonna cry loud. Urgh! You get to a teenager now, she gonna stay put. She gonna say, B, you deal with him. Huh? I gone out the house. I gone on the road. Can't find me. I ain't trying for Pops. Because your judgment gets more the more you grow. Because more is expected of you. You understand that? It's the same thing with the Most High God. All right? Now, let's go to the Apocrypha. all right, the King James Bible Apocrypha. We're going to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 5.
Reading from the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 5. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded. For God proved them and found them worthy for himself.
So you see that? Having been a little chastised, right? They shall be greatly rewarded. God proved them and found them worthy for himself. So when you go through judgment, when the Israelites went through what we went through, now we went through some stiff judgments, yes? Now those curses of Deuteronomy 28, are they over, or are we still dealing with them? Good, we're still dealing with them. Now here's the question. Are the curses of Deuteronomy 28, because they're still going on, is it a light captivity, would you say, that we're in? I mean, think about all the things that happened to us throughout the ages of slavery up till now. It ain't light, right? But here's the thing. Read the first part again. Verse 5.
Verse 5. Wisdom of Solomon 3, verse 5. And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded.
A little chastised. So, did we deserve what happened to us for breaking the covenant? We absolutely did. It was horrific. But did the Lord do that to us to wipe us out? No. Romans 11 tells you that the Lord has not done away with his people. He did it as an act of love. You went off, so daddy had to spank that bum bum. And daddy spanked that bum bum to the point where we just like... You ever saw that one child in class? You wonder what was wrong with him because it looked like he liked licks. You used to ask yourself, well, he looked like licks, sweet heat. They had one guy in our class in grade 5. I remember. He used to just deliberately act out just so he could get licks. And when he get the licks, they couldn't beat him in his hand or beat him. They used to beat him in his back. Yeah, who remember that fat belt they used to use back in the day? They used to call it chocolate. Chocolate or Charlie, right? That belt was fat. And he used to love licks from that thing to the point where he used to deliberately act out, right? Just so he could get the licks. And every time he get the licks, I kid you not, I never seen nothing like this before in my life. Every time he get the licks, they wet him 3 across his back. Bye, bye. And he started to dance. And he started to walk up and he started to gyrate, and he loved that thing, right? I said, what going on here with this youth? All of us in the class trying to figure out, is there something wrong with this? Is he deranged? He used to love the licks. Every day he want licks. And he dance and he walk up and he shake up and he gyrate and he said, no, something wrong with him. Israel has gotten to the point where it's almost like we love licks. We have gotten so accustomed to being subjugated, right? Being on the bottom, that we think that this is life. We think that this is what it's supposed to be. The struggle, they even have the saying, the struggle is real. It's so real that it's what life is today. The struggle is real. You realize how people have accepted it? Okay, now with Jimmy, bye. All right, cool. Everything good? Bye. You know, we got the struggle real. You know, the struggle is real. We've accepted that as part of our vernacular. The struggle is so real that it's everyday life. But the thing is, when you start to wake up our people and tell them, wait, we're the Israelites, God punished us for breaking the covenant, they start to be like, well, how are we going to get out of it? Simple. Stop breaking the covenant. Nah, it can't be that easy. My brother, it's literally that. Nah, it can't be that easy. So all I got to do is stop breaking the law? Yes. Nah, bro. You can't. Nah, bro. This is what brothers is telling you. You've seen it, Brother DeAndre, at camp. Like, you've seen brothers, like, you tell them, we got to stop breaking the law. They're like, really? That's all we got to do? They're thinking it's something more, right? Exactly, because we've become accustomed. But it says, that's just a little light chastising, but we're going to be greatly rewarded after God has proved us. Verse 6.
Verse 6. As gold in the furnace had he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering.
Receive them as a burnt offering, come on.
Verse 7. And in the time of their visitation they shall shine, and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble.
Verse 8.
Verse 8. They shall judge the nations, and have dominion over the people, and the Lord shall reign forever.
Good. So in order for us to get to that stage, right, we got to go through this little light affliction. So yes, I know you might say, well, Father, how could what we're going through for all these hundreds of years be light affliction? It's really light compared to what he could have done to us. Understand that. Give me the book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 2, verse 1.
Reading from the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2 and verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord,
If you come to serve the Lord,
prepare thy soul for temptation.
what do we say temptation in the Greek means? Trial. So prepare yourself for trials when you come to serve the Lord, or in other words, when you're coming into the truth, prepare yourself for trials. Trials. Read on. What kind of trials? Fiery trials. Read on.
Verse 2. Set thine heart aright, and constantly endure.
Constantly endure, because you're going to go through periods of trials, overcoming, then trials again, then overcoming. So you got to constantly endure. Read on.
And make no haste in time of trouble.
Make no haste in time of trouble, meaning don't backslide in the time of trouble. Read on.
Verse 3. Cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest increase at thy last end.
So you want to increase your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding when you go through the trial, because you went through it victoriously. You didn't slip, you didn't backslide, you didn't go back into the world, you didn't go back to being a Negro in the world. All right, read on.
Verse 4. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully.
So you got to say, thank you, Lord, this fiery trial. I appreciate you bringing this to me so that I can learn and use it as a stepping stone. Read on.
And be patient when thou art charged to a low estate.
Changed.
Changed to a low estate.
So be patient. Go through it. The only way to get through it is to actually do it. You got to go through it and get through it. So be patient. The Lord is going to bring you out. You're not going to go through it forever. But he got to do it so that he could purify some impurities that's in you. Read on.
Verse 5. For gold is tried in fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity.
The only how the Most High could accept you is if he got to put you through the fire first. So you're going to go through some tough times. Those of you who married, your marriage is going to suffer some tough things. But you got to be able to overcome. Don't tell yourself, well, this is the last time then or we done. No, your marriage is going to go through tough times. The Lord has to test the strength of that marriage. Strong marriages last because they went through the toughest storms. Understand that. Relationships between brothers and sisters withstand the test of time because y'all went through some tough trials together. Or you might have went through a trial by yourself, and this person was there for you. That person was there for you while going through. They didn't turn their back on you. They didn't betray you. They didn't backstab you. They stood right there with you, just like Job's friends, right? So acceptable men, that's how they get acceptable, because they got to go through that fire. Verse 6.
Verse 6. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him.
Faith and trust is the biggest two factors when you're going through a trial. Any trial that you go through, yes, you got to go through it and have patience, but while you're going through it, you got to have faith that the Lord will absolutely redeem you on the other side of it. But how can you have that confidence? Well, faith, yes, but you have faith because you're doing what? Keeping what? You're doubling down on what? Right, you double down on the commandments while you're going through it. Read on. Oh, that's it on that? Okay, give me the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 73. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 73.
Reading from the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 73. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in fire.
The only how you could be known, the only how you could know who will be chosen and who will not be chosen is by the fire. Who came out victorious on the other side of the fire. Read on.
Verse 74. Hear, O ye my beloved, said the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, and I will deliver you from the same.
I will deliver you from the same. So when the times of trouble come, whenever things get thick, whenever hits the fan, and you're going through that fiery trial, understand this: the Lord will absolutely deliver you out of it if you, 1, have patience, 2, have faith, 3, double down on the commandments. He's going to deliver you from the same. All right, let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 66 and verse 10.
Reading from the book of Psalms 66, verse 10. For thou, O God, hast proved us. Thou hast tried us as silver is tried.
So the Lord, you got to be able to thank him for trying you, just like how silver is tried, precious metals is tried. He proves it through the fire. Read on, verse 11.
Verse 11. Thou hast broughtest us into the net. Thou hast laid this affliction upon our
Loins.
loins.
Read on.
Verse 12. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but thou hast brought us out into a wealthy place.
He has brought us into a wealthy place. So the Most High, not only in the midst of the fire with you, he's going to bring you out of it and bring you to a better place. Understand that. But you got to be able to acknowledge that it's the Lord who is doing this thing. Give me the book of 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 6. You got to be able to acknowledge God is the one that's doing all of this.
Reading from the book of 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 6. Wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviest through manifold temptations.
Through manifold or different trials. So you got to rejoice, right? You're going to go through seasons. You're going to go through the season of trial. You're going to go through the season of testing. You're going to go through, while you're being tested, you're going to be tempted with different things. In this truth is a truth of seasons. It's seasonal, all right? And you got to be able to recognize what season that you're in. When you recognize what season you're in, don't falter. Understand it comes with the territory. Understand you got to thank God for the season that you're in right now, all right? But you got to go through the fire, all right? You need them scriptures when you're going through the fire. Don't be like, oh, well, I don't want to hear no scriptures when I'm going through the fire. You need them scriptures when you're going through the fire. What verse was that? Give me verse 7.
Verse 7. That the trials of your faith be much more precious than of gold that perisheth.
So the trials of your faith is much more precious than actual gold that's going to perish. But what you're going to gain from going through this trial is what? Eternal, something eternal. You're going to learn the experience. You're going to learn patience. You're going to be able to pass on. Because guess what? Gold is going to pass away. It's going to be burnt up. But what you pass on to someone else in terms of the experience that you gain from your trial, they'll be able to take that, internalize that, apply that, and do what? Pass it on as well. It never dies. It never dies. It literally, it's an infinite circle of wisdom. All right? Infinite circle of wisdom and experience. That never dies. Read on. So though the trial of your faith be much more than of precious than gold that perisheth,
though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearance of Jesus Christ.
Good. Praise, glory, and honor, right, when Christ returns. So you're going to be found more precious than gold when Christ returns if you go through that trial the right way. All right? Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 20. So y'all see now that, listen, the fire is absolutely required to be the person that you need to be in this truth. You cannot be the person that you need to be in this truth if you do not go through the trials. Deuteronomy 4, verse 20.
Reading from the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 20. But the Lord had taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as you are this day.
So even when we came out of Egypt, right, and we had to go into the wilderness for how long? 40 years, right? That was the Lord purifying us, removing and purging out of us the ways of what? Egypt. So you might ask yourself this question: why did the Lord actually let us stay that long in the wilderness? Some of y'all thought that was brutal for the Lord to do, right? In the wilderness, 40 years. It was necessary. We had to get the ways of our old life off of us. And similarly, when you come into this truth, you got to get the ways of your old life off of you. So that's why the fire gets so intense the moment you come into this truth. All hell breaks loose when you come into this truth. That's why the book of Ecclesiasticus 2 says what? My son, prepare yourself for what? Trials if you come to serve the Lord. It comes with some serious trials, but it's to weed out and wean off your old life. Y'all get the point? And guess what? You will still go through it even though you're 2 years in the truth, 3 years in the truth, 4 years in the truth. The Lord still has work to do on you. All right? Let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 46, verse 1. Psalms, chapter 46, verse 1.
Reading from the book of Psalms, chapter 46 and verse 1. To the chief musicians for the sons of Korah, a song upon Almoth. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble.
Now the Lord also does this twofold. Builds up your faith and your strength during that time, so that when another trial comes, the faith that you had from the last one, knowing that how he brought you out unscathed, brought you out untouched, the fire didn't touch you. It's to build up your faith even more for the next trial, that when it does come, you know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, that the Lord will absolutely take me out of it just the way he did previously, because I didn't slip, I didn't keep the commandments, I doubled down on the commandments. Read on.
Verse 2. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried away in the midst of the sea.
Read on.
Verse 3. Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof.
Good. So when all the shaking and your life getting turned upside down, topsy-turvy, right? In the midst of it all, the Lord will be the one who will bring you through that thing. But here's the thing. Do you realize, how many of you, by show of hands, notice scriptures like these? People in the world, they put them up as their status. They lament them. Not lament. They have an opinion of these scriptures. They want these scriptures to apply to them, even though they're not keeping no commandments. You would see somebody put up on their WhatsApp status, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. They want that scripture to apply to them in their life and what they're going through. But they don't want to do what? They don't want to keep the commandments. So they will put up all these psalms on their statuses, on their social media about God's help and God's provision during times of trouble. But the problem is they want God's help, but they don't want to keep God's commandments. That's an unfair balance. Why would you want God to rescue you in times of trouble when you don't want to actually do what the Lord requires you to do? It's an unfair balance that many people try to apply to themselves. All right? Give me the book of Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 3.
Reading from the book of Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 3. The finding pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but the Lord trieth the hearts.
The Lord trieth the heart. So the finding pot is for silver, and the furnace is for gold. That's how you make precious metals, right? You got to heat that thing up. But the Lord trieth the hearts. Why does the writer juxtapose those two things? Who could tell me? It says, the finding pot is for silver, the furnace is for gold, but the Lord trieth the hearts. Why does those two things come back to back? I'll give you a clue. When you're going through your fiery trial, what is the Lord actually doing? It says it right there in the end of the verse. He's trying your heart. He has to try your heart so that you can see what you are made of. It's as simple as that. If you go and bail, as soon as the fiery trials come, or if you're going to endure. Apply this to your marriages as well. When trouble comes in the marriage, is it time to bail, or is it time to double down in these commandments? Use it as a parallel to see what you should do whenever trouble comes in any aspect of your life. Whether it's your health, your finances, your marriage, your relationships with brothers and sisters. What are you going to do when the hits the fan? Are you going to bail, or are you going to stick it through and double down in the commandments and come out on the other side pure as gold? Give me the book of Isaiah 48, verse 10.
Reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 48 and verse 10. Behold, I have refined thee, not with silver.
Not with silver.
I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction.
Ah, the furnace of affliction. See how now the parallel is there? The furnace of affliction. But like we said earlier, it's to try your heart. It's to try your heart. Good. The furnace of affliction. He has to remove the impurities from your heart. Hebrews 12 and verse 6.
Reading from the book of Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 6. For whom the Lord loveth, he chastiseth.
So if the Lord love you, he going to do what? Chastise you. There you go. In other words, chastise means correct. He's going to correct you. If you're not going through correction in this truth, right? Now, question. How many of you were being corrected with something and you knew it was the Lord? Like you knew, that's by show of hands. By show of hands. How many of you was going through some correction since you came into this truth? And you absolutely knew it was the Lord doing this? Absolutely. But should you feel bad or should you feel good? No, you should feel good, because it says, if he's correcting you, it means that he loves you. So read it again.
For whom the Lord loveth, he chastiseth. And scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.
He scourges every son whom he receives. So if he's going to receive you as a son or as a daughter, he got to scourge you. He got to correct you. Right? It's like a child that, would you just let your child keep sticking their finger in the electrical socket? It's like all the time, and they're laughing, talking about and they do it again. You're going to clap that ass, right? Absolutely. Because if he does that for too long, what's going to happen? He could electrocute himself. Good. If your son start hanging around gang members, he coming home, he 13. Yo, Pops, what's up? What up, Pops? You're like, wait, what? What's this? Yeah, Pops, East Side, Jenna. You're like, wait, hold up. Let me see your phone. You're going through pictures, got guns up, middle fingers up, all this. So wait, son, you in a gang? Yeah, straight, Pops. Gang. You're like, wait, you gang? Yeah, Pops. Them men love me. All right, well, hear what? It's either you tell them you ain't a part of this gang no more, right? Or you go live with them. Because I ain't having you living here and you in no gang. Nobody gonna come shoot up our house looking for you. You understand that? So he might be thinking, why Pops moving like this on me, man? Pops, you don't love me? You don't care about me? These guys out here, they love me. But if they love you so much, go live with them then. No, Pops absolutely loves you. He don't want to see you ending up in JNF. He don't want to see you ending up in HMP. And he definitely don't want to see you in Springfield Cemetery. For those of you who don't know what JNF is, it's the General Hospital here, Joseph N. France Hospital. All right? HMP, Her Majesty's Prison. Your parents, if they love you, they definitely don't want to see you there. And Springfield Cemetery is our local cemetery in Basseterre. Your parents, if they love you, they definitely don't want to see you there if it's something that they could have helped to prevent. So your parents, if they love you, they're going to absolutely tell you, You going done with that gang thing tomorrow. I remember my little brother. He started like hanging out with these dudes wearing the blue bandanas, man. My pops got word from another son's father. Yeah, your son out there with these guys with the blue bandana. Pops said, well, yeah? Jump in the car one time. 100 miles an hour. Pull up on the block. He was like, these the guys? He was like, listen, either you tell them now, I'm going to beat you in front of them. He was like, yeah, brothers, yeah, man, cool. I done with it from today, yeah? Straight up like that. He's on like a little puppy dog. Yeah, I done with it from today, yeah? Cool. Pops wasn't making no joke with that. You understand? Because my pops from Westbourne God. He from the hood. So he know, yo, a lot of the people who we grew up with, a lot of them dead in jail or just, doing the same foolishness still. He didn't want that for his son. So he was very active in making sure they're not about that. But if the Lord loves you, He's going to do what? Correct you. Correction is love. Absolutely. What verse was that? That was verse 6. Give me verse 7.
Verse 7. If you endure chastising, God dwelleth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chastiseth not?
You're not a son if the Most High not correcting you. So whenever you go through your fiery trials, be happy for that thing. All right? Give me the book of Philippians, chapter 1 and verse 5.
Reading from the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 5. For your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now.
Okay, so from your first day in the truth till now, right? Watch this.
Verse 6.
Uh-huh.
Being confident of this very thing, that he which had begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ.
So from the first day you came into this truth, Brother Daniel, understand this. The Most High's intention is to finish the work that He started in you. So if trials come along the way, tell yourself it's of the Lord. Read on. That was verse 6. Okay. Drop that and give me 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 3.
Reading from the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 3. Though thou endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ.
So to be a good soldier of Christ, you got to endure hardness. The best soldiers know how to endure hardness. And the best soldierettes as well. All right? Don't be a wife if you're married, the first sign of trouble or the second sign of trouble or the third sign of trouble, you're ready to dip. The strongest, longest marriages last because when the trials come, they be like, listen, I don't care how tough the trial is. We facing and braving this storm together. We gonna fix it. If you want to know if a marriage gonna last or not, just ask the husband or the wife separately. When trouble comes, what you gonna do? If you get two different answers, you gotta that might need some counsel. But if they say, we gonna fix it, we gonna deal with it, they're both on the mind of, if anything comes hell or high water, we're going to ride through the storm. All right? No, hey, brothers, that don't mean put your wife through hell. Listen to me. That doesn't mean because you have a rider, put your wife through hell. I'll give you a little story. I know my wife is a rider. I know it for a fact. Like, listen, I came into bed and it was dark. It was at night, like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I slipped, right? I slipped and I kind of fell, but I used my hand to kind of break the fall. I was going on the bed, but I slipped. I didn't break the fall the way I wanted to, so I kind of land on the bed and I kind of. Yo, my wife jumped up out the bed so fast. She ran to the door. Like if we had a burner in the house, she would absolutely run for that burner, and she's shooting anything that she see that she don't like. I know my wife is a writer. I understand that, but what I'm saying is not because you know your wife is a writer that means you put her through hell. Y'all understand that? Not because your wife said, listen, I'm going to ride through the storms with you. That doesn't mean, well, hey, man, I'm going to turn up the heat and put you through hell. Leave that for the Lord to do. The Lord turns up the heat. With you, brothers, you don't turn up the heat on your wife. You understand that? All praises. Good. So give me Philippians 1 and verse 6 now. Give me verse 6.
Philippians
Sorry.
1.
No, sorry. We was reading Timothy. Sorry. Timothy, 2 Timothy 2 and 3. Read now on verse 4 now. 2 Timothy 2 and verse 4.
Reading from the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 4. No man that warreth entangled himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who had chosen him to be a soldier.
So brothers, you want to be a soldier for Christ, don't entangle yourself with, oh, well, you don't know what I'm going through. The things that I'm going through is rough. Yes, you have to deal with the things you're going through, but it says take up your cross and follow him. But while you're going through what you're going through, right, make sure that you're using the trial to perfect yourself in Christ. You understand that? Because you want to please the one that chose you to be a soldier, which is Christ. Give me the book of Psalms 34 and verse 19. Psalms chapter 34 verse 19.
Reading from the book of Psalms chapter 34 and verse 19. Many are the afflictions of righteousness, but the Lord delivered him out of them all.
So understand this, the righteous goes through afflictions. If anybody ever tell you, well, man, keeping no commandments, so all of us that go through things, yes, all of us go through things, but the Lord will deliver the righteous, the righteous. You understand that? He delivers them all. Good. Let's get 2 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 8.
Reading from the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 8. For we will not, brethren, have you ignorant of our trouble which came to us in Asia, that we were pressed out of measure above strength, insomuch that we despise it, despaired even
right.
of life.
Good. Despaired even of life. Verse 9.
Verse 9. But we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God who raiseth the dead.
So when you're going through your fiery trial, it's so that God could actually get the glory. That's why nothing that you do of your own strength, of your own power. Now when Paul was faced and pressed with, situations that were crazy, right? Crazy situations. Like we mentioned earlier, getting shipwrecked, getting stoned, getting beaten, getting thrown in prison, going in jail, right? When these guys went in jail, what did they do? Who could tell me? No, they ain't just teach in jail. What they do before the angel sent the earthquake to break them out of prison, what did they do just prior to that? They started to do what? Say it loud again, Gabar. They sang praises while they were in jail. They were in there bigging up Yahweh. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Bahashem Yahweh Shai. They was in there getting down. And they were in jail. That brought forth or ushered in what? The angel of the Lord to send an earthquake so great that it tear down the walls of the prison. And the guard was like, wait, hold on. They praised their God and it opened up the walls. Well, brethren, I could go in. Because me want no problems with whatever God y'all serving. If y'all praising him like that and the walls break open, well, brethren, go. Go ahead. Don't worry. I ain't going to say nothing. Just go ahead. If they ask me for let y'all go, I'm going to be like, the wall fall down on me and I couldn't see. Don't worry. Just go. I ain't want no problems. My friend, no problem. You understand? So, you got to usher in God's help by giving praises whenever you go through the fiery trial. So, when you go through the fiery trial, what should you be doing? Singing praise. Sing them praises, man. Turn up that praise, man. Something wild happened to you tomorrow morning, you better turn to your wife and be like, listen, we going to sing them praise. We don't feel like it. Get out of your emotions. Get out of your emotions. We going to sing them praises right now. Guess what's going to happen? You might get a phone call right in the midst of y'all doing that. Something happens. Listen, things turn around in a second. The Bible says in less than an hour, God does things. Where we at? Good. Verse 8 and 9. So now, if God could raise the dead, if God could bring natural disasters on the earth, you think your little fiery trial that you're going through is anything for him to turn around? No. Exactly. But he wants to get the glory from it. That's why when you go through your fiery trial, ain't nothing that you'll be able to do in your power to get out of it. You're back against the wall, and he wants it to be against the wall. You know why he wants it to be against the wall? So you have no one else to turn to or call other than him. But what most people do, don't worry, I got it myself. I can handle it myself. I can handle it myself. And they just go deeper and deeper into the never-ending abyss. Right? Give me the book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 6 and verse 7.
Reading from the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6 and verse 7. If thou wouldst get a friend, prove him first.
Prove him first.
And be not hasty to credit him.
So in this truth, you're going to get a lot of brothers and sisters who claiming to be your friend or want to be your friend. You got to prove them first, though, all right? It says, don't be hasty to what? Credit them. Credit them. All right? The word friend and the meaning of friend is two different things. You could use that word loosely, friend, but you see what a true friend is in actions. Now, will you go through some fiery trials with friends? Absolutely. Will some so-called friends snake you? Absolutely. Will some so-called friends gutter snipe you? Absolutely. It's part of the process. But the Lord is letting you know, be careful before you just call yourself call someone else a friend. Now, you just learned earlier as well, someone could be right beside you coming to the Sabbath day, doing the feast days, wearing fringes, but they're in the truth for what? Ulterior motives. But you got to be able to prove a friend. So don't let the external stuff kind of like fool you. You got to be able to go through things with someone. If you and a so-called friend going through a tough time and y'all went through a rough period and y'all reconcile and y'all built back, that's proving the friendship. If it takes for one hiccup of something and a so-called friend decide they're not dealing with you no more, all it took was one thing, guess what? That person was never a friend. So what does that show you? You got to be able to go through things with someone before you could call them a friend. So you got to go through things together. You got to be able to go through things together. And that's how you prove the friendship. But if it takes one little misunderstanding, now this person either against you, opposed to you, now they hate you, or one little misunderstanding, now they betray you, that person was never a friend to begin with. But you will go through these type of trials as well in the truth. It's required. Now the Lord has to weed out. Now for your own protection, the Most High has to weed out persons out of your life. He's doing it because he loves you. So if the Lord removes anyone from your life, what should you say? Thank you, Lord. All right? Now if you keeping the commandments and they're not keeping the commandments and he remove you out of their life, it's going to be bad for them. It's going to be good for you, but bad for them. Catch the point. Verse 8.
Ecclesiasticus 6, verse 8.
Come on.
For some man is a friend for his own occasion.
Their own occasion or ulterior motives. Read on.
I will not abide in the day of thy trouble.
So when your trouble comes or whenever you are going through a rough time together as friends, they're not going to abide. They're not going to stay. They're not going to be around. They're going to dip. They're going to go off and be like, I never was with you. You're going to be able to see it in that time. Verse 9.
And there is a friend who been turned to enmity.
Oh, stop right there. Sometimes friend turn to foes. A friend being turned to enmity. So y'all see that in this truth, you're going to have friends that turn to enemies. And guess what? Sometimes maybe they were a friend to begin with, but the Lord put the Spirit on them to be opposed to you now. The Lord did it for a reason. Read on.
And strife will discover thy reproach.
And strife will discover thy reproach. You know what strife discovering your reproach means? What does that mean? Strife discovering your reproach. Okay. Who in here have, or back in the world, y'all had like good, close friends that you could call every day? Okay. Y'all ever had arguments with them? Okay. Arguments, yes. Or this, okay, let's say disagreements. Disagreements. Strong disagreements. The day after, was the person just like deciding they're not going to speak to you anymore, or it kind of bring y'all a little closer? Both, right? But for the ones that it brought y'all closer, those are actually the persons that no matter what, you could tell them everything about their mama, they're going to stay right there by your side still. Y'all could have disagreements from now till whenever your house shall come back. They're going to stay right there by your side. They ain't going nowhere. Those are literal friends that are closer to you than an actual blood brother. Now, there are some people, one disagreement, they're gone. Those were never friends to begin with. You understand that? So a friend being turned to enmity, but it says strife will discover thy reproach, meaning a disagreement, argument, you know, y'all having a back and forth. That's all it takes for them to, for the strife will discover thy reproach is just strife being the thing that makes them go. You get it? Like everything was cool a week ago. Now that y'all have a disagreement, that's the thing that makes them leave. Strife discovered their reproach. You get the point. Give me verse 10.
Verse 10. Again, some friend is a companion at the table. I will not continue in the day of thy affliction.
So these people will sit with you, eat with you, drink with you, laugh with you. It ain't everybody that laugh with you, eat with you at the feast days. They have, you know, the right motives. All right? Because when the day of affliction come, meaning y'all have a disagreement, y'all not seeing eye to eye, right? It says they're not going to continue. They're going to leave. You understand that? Those are some of the trials you're going to face in this truth. Now, please, anyone wants to dismember themselves from you while you in this walk on the truth, your job is to not try to hold on to them. Let the Lord do his perfect work. If you feel like you lost a friend, the Most High is in the business of replenishing. He can send you 2 or 3 more worth way more than what they ever, meant in your life. He could replace that. All right? Baruch 4 verse 25 in the Apocrypha. Baruch 4 and verse 25.
Reading from the book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 25. My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from God.
Suffer patiently the wrath. Come on.
For thy enemy had persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shall tread upon his neck.
Read.
Verse 26. My delicate ones have gone rough ways, and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemies.
Verse 27.
Verse 27. Be of good comfort, O children, and cry unto God, for he shall remember of him that brought thou these things upon you.
So when you're going through these things, a lot of people don't remember the Lord. They just remember what they're going through. You understand that? But you definitely want to remember the Lord, all right? And you will be remembered of him that brought these things upon you, all right? Give me Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 15.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6 and verse 15. To think therefore upon her is perfection of wisdom.
So this is talking about wisdom. To think therefore upon her is the perfection of wisdom. Come on.
And whoso watcheth for her shall quickly be without care.
Good. So you're thinking upon wisdom daily. You're thinking upon wisdom, right? You're thinking how you could apply wisdom to any situation that befalls you. Verse 16.
Verse 16. For she goeth about seeking such as are worthy of her, showeth herself favorably unto them in the ways, and meeteth them in every thought.
So how could you be worthy of wisdom if you ain't even looking for wisdom, if you're not even applying the commandments? Wisdom comes from the application of the commandments, and wisdom is only looking for those who are worthy of her. So if you're not worthy of her, wisdom is going to evade you. Read on.
Verse 17. For the very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline.
Good. So you cannot get wisdom if you don't first attend yourself to discipline. Because remember, into a malicious heart, right? Into a malicious heart, what? There's no wisdom. Right. Read on.
And the care of discipline is love.
The care of discipline is love. Verse 18.
And the love is the keeping of her laws.
Stop right there. It says the love is the keeping of her laws. So wisdom, if you're going to find her, it goes right back to you being disciplined and keeping God's laws. Read on.
And the giving heed unto her laws is the assurance of incorruption.
That is the assurance of incorruption. Good. Verse 19.
And incorruption maketh us near unto God.
So incorruption makes us near unto God. Verse 20.
Therefore, the desire of wisdom bringeth to a kingdom.
So if you really want to get to this kingdom, you got to be able to apply these scriptures, apply these commandments when you go through your fiery trials in order to get the kingdom, in order to attain to wisdom. Verse 11. Sorry. Ecclesiasticus 4, verse 11. Ecclesiasticus 4.
Ecclesiasticus 4, verse 11. Wisdom exalted her children, and laid hold of them that seek her.
Verse 12.
Verse 12. He that loveth her loveth life, and they that seek her to her early shall be filled with joy.
Shall be filled with joy. So wisdom is that thing that you definitely need to apply when you're going through these fiery trials. Read on.
He that loveth her loveth life, and they that seek to her early shall be filled with joy.
Filled with joy. Jump down to verse 17.
Verse 17. For at the first she will walk with him by crooked ways.
By crooked ways. So first, wisdom will walk with you by crooked ways, because now your discipline is being tested, right? Your obedience is being tested. When you're still a Negro in the world, right, wisdom is going to walk with you by crooked ways. Come on.
And bring fear and dread upon him.
And bring fear and dread upon you through the trials that you're going to go through. Read on.
And torment him with her discipline.
And torment you with her discipline. So when you're going through your trials, guess what's being on trial at that moment in time as well? Your discipline. Your discipline. There you go. A lot of people don't have discipline when they're going through their tough trials. Read on.
Until she may trust his soul.
Until wisdom could actually realize, okay, you're doing the right thing. Then I'll give myself over to you. Read on.
And try him by her laws.
And try him by her laws. So wisdom has to put you through the ringer before wisdom could actually trust you and give herself to you. You understand that? Verse 18.
Verse 18. Then shall she return the straight way unto him.
Then she's going to bring you back to a place that is right before the Most High. Read on.
And comfort him.
And wisdom is going to comfort you, because what do you learn after you use a stumbling block as a stepping stone? What do you learn? You get experience from that, right? Good. So read that part again for me.
Then will she return the straight way unto him and comfort him.
How is wisdom a comfort to you? When you get wisdom, what can you apply it to? Future situations, future scenarios, and you can also pass it on to who? Who can you pass on wisdom to? Someone who's going through the same thing or even like similar. Read on.
And show him her secret.
Wisdom can show you secrets because guess what? Through wisdom, you can learn how to mitigate and navigate situations. The wisdom doesn't just stay with you alone. It's an infinite circle of passing on wisdom. All right? You want to be around wise men as well that can also give you counsel. Because if you don't have the wisdom as yet, you need to be around men, or sisters need to be around sisters who have wisdom, that can show you things that they've learned from wisdom. They can teach you the secrets that wisdom taught to them so they can teach it to you. All right? Verse 19.
Verse 19. But if you go wrong,
she
will forsake him.
So if you're going through your fiery trial, you're not giving heed to wisdom, you don't have any discipline, right? Wisdom will forsake you and evade you. Come on.
And give him over to his own ruin.
And give you over to your own ruin. And I've seen that happen to many sisters, many brothers. They're not disciplined during the time of trial, so wisdom evades them and then gives them over to their own ruin. It happens all the time, but you don't want that to be you. Give me the book of Judith, chapter 8 and verse 25.
Reading from the book of Judith, chapter 8 and verse 25. Moreover, let us give thanks to the Lord our God, which tried us, even as he did our fathers.
Come on.
Verse 26. Remember what things he did to Abraham.
Stop right there. So, give thanks to the Lord who tries us, right? As he did our fathers. Understand this. Your fathers went through the same trying and even more. What you're going through is a light affliction. Understand this. The things that he did to Abraham, watch this.
And how he tried Isaac.
How we tried Isaac.
And what happened to Jacob in Mesopotamia of Syria.
Come on.
When he kept the sheep of Laban, his mother's brothers.
Y'all know what he did to Abraham and told him to sacrifice his own son. Y'all know how he tried Isaac. Y'all understand how he tried Jacob, right? Verse 27.
Verse 27. For he had not tried us in fire as he did them. For the examination of their hearts, neither had he taken vengeance on us. But the Lord does scourge them that came near unto him to admonish them.
Y'all realize the Lord didn't try y'all the way he tried them? So stop thinking that you're going through something rough and tough and then nobody knows what you're dealing with. If you had to go through what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob went through, do you think you'll be able to survive? Stop thinking that you're going through something rough. It's really not. You're going through a light affliction, so deal with it. Take up your cross and follow him. Buck up yourself. Strengthen up yourself. Tell the Lord, listen, I understand fire refines me. I need the fire. The fire is required. Send it on, Father. You need to purify me. Send on all these judgments and fiery trials. You need it. Sometimes when you come into the truth, you think the word judgment is a scary thing. Somebody tell you, they pull you to the side. You know what happened to you last week? That's actually judgment. You're like, judgment? Why? What am I doing? Judgment is a beautiful thing. So don't, for y'all who in the truth, don't be scared of that word judgment. Judgment is just a choice or a decision that the Most High has made on your behalf for something to happen to you. Like when you go in the courthouse, the judge makes a judgment. Whether he's going to give you a fine, a pat on the wrist, he's going to send you 6 months behind. Whatever he decides, that's his judgment. So whatever the Lord decides for you, that's his judgment, whether it be good or whether it be bad. But all in all, be happy. Whatever the judgment is, use it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Always look at the glass half what? Full rather than half empty. Right. Good. What verse we at now? Oh, you didn't finish it? You didn't finish it out? That was Judith 8 and verse 27. Okay, good. Give me Acts 14, 22.
Reading from the book of Acts 14, verse 22. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation.
Much what?
Much tribulation.
Much tribulation. People don't like that word tribulation either. Come on.
enter into the kingdom of God.
So the only way you're going to get into the kingdom of God is you got to go through much what? Much what? Say it loud, everybody. Much tribulation. That's how you enter into the kingdom. Y'all get the point. So if you want to go into the kingdom, you got to tell God, send down the tribulation. Is very simple. You understand that? Give me the book of Psalms 12 and verse 6.
Reading from the book of Psalms chapter 12 and verse 6. For the words of the Lord are pure words.
So these words of this Bible, this holy Bible, these commandments, these laws, these statutes, they are what? Pure what?
Pure words.
These words are pure, right? So don't take these words lightly. Don't feel you could just read these words and things don't start actually happening in your life. These words are pure words. And guess what? If a dirty heart reading pure words, what do you think going to happen to them? They're going to be found out what? Begins with a H. It begins with a H. If a dirty heart is reading pure words, right? That makes them into a what? It begins with a H. Hypocrite. So in order to actually read, absorb, internalize these pure words of this Bible, because these are God's words, you now have to change yourself from being a Negro in the world to actually being pure yourself. Don't think you're going to just come in here, hear these words being read to you, and you're going to stay the same. The Lord is going to wake up and shake up your life and break up your life, especially if you continue to just not change. So, read it again from the top. The words of the Lord.
The words of the Lord are pure words.
As
silver tried in furnace of earth. Purified 7 times.
Purified 7 times over. Right? So, understand this. Your fiery trials, the only thing that could take you out of it is what? The scriptures. But usually, during those times, you don't want to hear no. These words are pure words, though. All right? It melts away any impurities. Give me the book of 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 18.
Reading from the book of Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18. In everything give thanks.
In everything do what?
Give thanks.
Give thanks. Come on.
For this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you.
So whatever happens to you, it's the will of God. Y'all get the point? So give thanks no matter what happens, whether it be good, whether it be bad. Give thanks. Something may look like it's going wrong and it ain't going your way and you're disappointed. It's the will of God. Y'all get the point? You might be seeing like, this is not going the way I planned it. It's the will of God. But then, here's the question. What are you going to do to make sure that these pure words apply to your life? Are you going to just hear them and not apply? Are they going to go in one ear and go out the next? Or are they going to actually now make some change in your life by you actually doing what the Lord says? All right? That was verse 18. Give me 2 Timothy 3, verse 12.
Reading from 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 12. Yea, and all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution.
Wait, I thought if you in the truth in Christ, you're going to just go through a smooth time. You're going to suffer what?
Persecution.
You're going to suffer persecution. So, prepare your mind. Prepare your spirit. A lot of people don't want to deal with this part of the truth, but it comes with the territory. You're going to suffer persecution. And tell yourself, if you're suffering persecution, it's because the Lord thinks that you're strong enough to endure the persecution. So stop trying to run away from the persecution. Embrace it. Embrace it. Embrace the fire. Embrace the trials. All right? That's it on that? Good. Give me 2 Ezra 7:57. 2 Ezra chapter 7, verse 57.
Reading from the book of 2 Ezra chapter 7 and verse 57. Then answered he me and said, This is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight.
Okay, so hold up there. So when you're born in the earth, God bring you in this earth to fight a battle? Everything is war. I keep mentioning this. How many sperms get ejaculated when ejaculation happens? Millions. How many makes it to the egg? One. So it was a battle from the time you got shot out in your father's sperm and fertilized the egg. One cell turns into two, turns into four, four turns into eight, and so forth. Being born, coming through the birth canal, it's a battle. The mother in between life and death. They say when you're pregnant, you got 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot out. It's a very precarious situation when a woman is pregnant and about to deliver, and her time of pregnancy is fulfilled. When the baby coming through, the battle still ain't over, you know, because remember, a lot of babies could be born stillbirth. If they're not careful taking that baby out of the womb properly, out of the birth canal properly. How many heard recently last year a hospital got sued because they were taking the baby out coming out of she was given a natural birth, and the doctor was pulling so hard that it decapitated the baby's head, ripped off the baby's head. Yeah. And they tried to cover it up by taking the baby and carrying it over into a next room, and that so other people find it and not blame whoever delivered the baby. But then they pressed charges on that thing, and it found out that, well, this person doesn't actually work at the hospital. They don't actually work there. That's what they said. But they denied all the allegations. So even as a baby being born, if they don't guide, and sometimes, did any mothers here, by show of hands, any natural births? Natural? No. When that baby coming through naturally, sometimes they tell the mother, do not push, wait, no push. Don't, because you could tear, or certain things could happen whereby it puts too much force and pressure on the baby. So even in that moment, you're halfway there, but you still ain't there yet. If you're not very delicate with that process, it could kill the mother or it could kill the baby. Or both. So everything from the time you entered into this life, from the time you take your first breath, sometimes the doctor has to do what? So they could check it to see if you're breathing. They got to slap you on your bum, right? Now, the baby wasn't accustomed to breathing in air yet, because when the baby is submerged in the womb, how does it breathe? Because it's submerged in liquid, right? So it's not actually breathing oxygen. It's being sustained through what? The umbilical cord, right? And all the amniotic fluid in there, all of it is needed. It's compacted in fluid and blood, and it gets fed through the umbilical cord. So when it comes out, it takes its first what? Breath. And even at that point, it ain't over yet. They got to do all these checks to make sure the baby is all the functions of the baby, all of it. It's a war from the first time you come into this earth. So that's why everything, to attain things in life, it's going to be a war. To accomplish things, it's going to be a war. Being in this truth is a war. Everything is a war. And you cannot have peace without war. So read it again from the top.
Then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle.
This is the condition of the battle.
Which man that is born upon the earth shall fight.
Read on.
That if he be overcome.
If he be overcome.
He shall suffer as thou hast said.
So if you don't overcome the trials, if you don't endure the tribulations, if you don't be refined as pure gold and go through it, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. What are you going to suffer? Getting put to death in the end. Right. Read on.
But if he get the victory.
But if he get the victory and he overcomes the trials and the tribulations, come on.
He shall receive the things that I say.
You shall receive the things that the Lord says, which is the promises. Come on.
For this is the life whereas Moses spake unto the people while he lived, saying, Choose the life
Choose the life, come on,
that thou mayest live.
that thou mayest live. So everything is a battle in this truth. You understand that? Give me the book of Revelation 2 and verse 26.
Reading from the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end.
Stop right there. When it says he that overcometh, overcome what though? What are you overcoming when you're here in this life? What are you overcoming? Trials, tribulations, fiery temptations or trials. But if you overcome that thing and keepeth his works, meaning keeping the commandments, read on.
To him will I give power over the nations.
The Most High will promise you power over the nations. Meaning that in the new kingdom, you're going to be ruling. In the new kingdom, you're going to be over the other nations, because guess what? Right now, the other nations are over you. Now, for those of you that like to say, well, I don't agree with us being over the other nations in the new kingdom. So if us being on the bottom of this kingdom right now, if that's good enough for us, why ain't good enough for them in the new kingdom? If our position right now, being at the bottom, that's good enough for us right now, right? Why can't it be good enough for them in the new kingdom? Oh, so we could deal with it, but they can't? Why? Because we built for it and they're not? Oh, I see. I see how some people think about us versus how they think of them. But the Lord absolutely says you're going to rule over the other nations should you keep his word, his promises. You overcome these fiery temptations and trials. Give me verse 27.
Verse 27. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
Rule them with a rod of iron. Rulership. Come on.
As a vessel of potters shall they be broken to shivers.
They're going to be broken because the other nations are absolutely not going to want to fall in line to God's commandments at first. So they're going to have to be now broken, all right, to do so. Read on.
Even as I receive of my Father.
Even as I have received of my Father. Because Christ is the one who has received these promises. He's going to give these promises to us. So understand this. Should you receive these promises, you have to do what he instructs us to do. Be faithful, overcome the trials, understand that the fire is required, the fire is needed. That's the only thing that could purify you, refine you, and make you into precious gold. You understand that? So we're going to end it there today. All praises to the Most High. Let's give it up for the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. Let's give it up for the fiery trials, man. Let's give it up for everything that the Most High sends our way. Let's give it up for, keep it going, keep it going. Let's give it up for all the challenges, all the things that he set before us to build us, to grow us, the painful things that seems like, you know, I just don't want to go through this thing. Thank him for all of it. All praises. So, we want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us. We hope that your spirit was revived. It was refreshed. You got a new perspective on these fiery trials and why you must go through them. We pray that you're able to use this class as inspiration for whatever you're going through right now. If you apply and keep the commandments, don't let your foot slip. Don't slip. Keep those commandments. The Lord will bring you out on the other side victorious. All right? So I pray. This is my prayer for each and every one of you that's watching this right now. Whatever you're facing right now, whether it's in your health, your finances, your family, your relationships, whatever you're going through, if you keep these commandments, if you would just do what the Lord says, whatever he commands you to do, you do it, you have faith, you have patience. Remember that part, patience. The Lord will absolutely bring you out on the other side victorious. So have that patience. Stay in the spirit. All right, Israel. And did we have any questions in the comments? Let me just check real quick. Check the comment section for me real quick. If we got any questions. Who's checking? Any questions in the comment section? Well, in the live comments. There's two sections of the comments. There's just the regular comments, and then there's the live chat. Just check for me if there's any question. I don't want to, pass over anyone's questions. All right? Anyone's checking? Soldier Gamaliel, are you checking? Sorry? Yeah, any questions in the live chat? Okay, Colonel said no. Okay, cool. So with that, we're going to close out. All right? We want to thank each and every one of you for joining us on today's Sabbath class. You know, play this as many times as you need to, all right, to really get some perspective on why we go through what we go through, all right? No matter what you face, all right? Whether it's heartbreak, whether it's betrayal, whether it's you're going through a tough time in your marriage, whether you're going through a rough time in your finances, no matter what you're going, your health, no matter what you're going through, right? You keep these commandments, you have patience, the Lord will absolutely deliver you out of that thing. So we want to thank you. We want to encourage the brothers that's in the four corners right now, wherever you are. We pray that you build up enough confidence to really get in this truth. Get a part of an organization and do the work. Do the work. All right, put your brick in. And if you want to be a part of TOC, send us an email at tocisraelites@gmail.com so how you can get started in your part of town, wherever you are. All right, we want to say shalom to the brothers in Guyana, shalom to the brothers in Suriname, Florida, London, wherever you're watching this from. All praises to the Most High. And with that, we close out. Shalom.